You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 172. So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us. Hello, my love. How are you? How was Father's Day weekend? For those of you that followed along on Instagram, I did a whole 7-day series about honoring the childless guys out there, the husbands, the brothers, the friends, partners, everyone who's a male and found themselves unexpectedly childless. This gave me such a beautiful opportunity to recount the ways that my husband has shown up for me during my fertility journey, but also come to a place of forgiveness for myself because there are so many moments in my fertility journey where I carried so much shame for how I showed up and for the person that I was and the way that I approached this journey because I didn't realize that my husband was grieving. I thought because I had the diagnosis and I was the one physically going through all the things that we all have gone through to try to achieve our dream of motherhood via reproductive assistance, it can feel like you are the one carrying everything. And there are times that I'm reminded in these vignettes that I'm reminded of these interactions and these words I said to my husband, moments that I took things out on him because I just didn't know better. So I hope it gave an opportunity for you to forgive yourself because you did the best that you could at the time that you were navigating what you did. If you could have changed things and treated your partner, the person that was around you, that maybe you look back and see that you would have done things differently, you would have done things differently, but you didn't know then what you know now. So allow us to forgive ourselves. And it's often something that is hard for us to do. And it's what prompted me to talk this week more about what it's like to show up for yourself and how to even forgive yourself when you sometimes don't want to even recount and recall the things that you went through and the way that you acted. So if you're listening today and you've been wondering how you can make amends with yourself and with your future after trying so hard to become a mother, I want you to listen in because maybe life feels really heavy for you right now. Maybe it feels lonely. Maybe you find yourself scrolling past photos that people are posting on their Instagram feeds, summer vacation photos, friends you went to high school or college with that have their vacation photos right in front and center. And you're scrolling past them, not because you don't love your friends, but because it stings every time. And maybe you've stopped dreaming or stopped planning. Maybe you feel like you're still in this holding pattern that fertility treatments and planning for parenthood keep us in when we're not sure what's going to happen next or if it's going to happen. And maybe you feel like you're just kind of surviving each day. Maybe part of you has started to believe the story that so many of us were told, that society tells us, that this is just what life is like when you're childless after infertility or when you're childless not by choice. But I want you to hear me right now that this story is not your only option. It might be what you were handed, but it does not have to be the way that you live forever. There is this lie that we've been told, and for a long time, I believed it. But our culture tells us that women like us, if we don't become moms, we'll never fully feel complete. We'll never know love. That we'll always be missing something, that your joy will always be laced with sadness, that your future will always feel just a little bit dimmer than the people with kids. But I want you to know the truth. That narrative is an absolute lie. And not because I've spent the last 4 years immersing myself in how to create a life that women can love without the children they dreamed of, but because I've seen women come to me, women that have been drawn to the message that I share and the realities that I shared about what it's like to love a life that didn't turn out as you dreamed it would. So, my story. Okay. You all know my story. Well, maybe you don't know it. For those that don't know it, let me just give you the abridged version of the story that no one prepared me for. So I went through 7 years of fertility treatments. I got a diagnosis of unexplained infertility when I was 35. I'm sorry, I got married at 35. I got my diagnosis of unexplained infertility at 37. And I went through multiple rounds of IUIs and IVF. And after that 7 years, I had one frozen embryo. When I got it genetically tested before getting the call from my reproductive endocrinologist, when my only frozen embryo was sent off for genetic testing, I was told that it was chromosomally abnormal. It had something called trisomy 16, and it would never result in a viable pregnancy. And getting that news absolutely shattered me. If you read my book, So Now What, I talk so vividly in the early chapters of So Now What about that day and about that phone call and the moments and minutes and years, I still tear up sometimes when I talk about it, that I was left with no resources. I was offered the opportunity to seek adoption services or egg donor services, but when those weren't the right answers for us, nobody prepared me for the life after treatments. There was absolutely no resource made available to me, no support or no community for people who are being left with the options that didn't feel right of adoption, egg donor. Surrogacy was not an option for me, but it might have been for you. And oftentimes, most women that I talk to were offered no resources. So most of us find only people trying to fix you with more ideas about what you should try, what you should do, how you should think, how you should live, so that you can become a mom. And most people don't realize that what you need is not another suggestion. What you need is to know that you still matter, that you're still whole, that even if you never become a mom, that your life can still feel joyful, meaningful, and full of hope. But if you're like me, nobody said that. When I left fertility treatments in 2018 with no resources, the road was bumpy. And I feel like I left a lot of life unlived because I was stuck in this feeling that I was just supposed to be the sad one. I was supposed to be the one who never felt complete because she wasn't like her friends who were able to achieve their dream of motherhood. So I want to talk to you today about how much longer you're willing to believe that lie. It might feel radical to believe that life can feel meaningful again. That is why I created my coaching program, Thrive After Infertility, because I want to dismantle that narrative. I help my clients dismantle the idea that life has to have them feeling like they are left in the dust, that they're always going to feel disconnected. What I help my clients do is trade in the idea of just getting by for something that is much more powerful. And I'd love to share. I just wrapped up working with a beautiful client who is in Australia. That's what I love about Zoom and the opportunity to normalize connecting and working with people around the globe. I want to share with you what she wrote me when she finished working with me and Thrive After Infertility. She said, at first, I wasn't sure if life coaching was for me. But after my initial consultation with Lana, I knew I'd made the right decision. Her compassion and lived experience made her the perfect person to help me move forward in a life I wasn't sure I could reach. So this client came to me unsure if coaching would help. She didn't know much about life coaching, as I didn't know much about life coaching before I saw the effects of it in my life. But she wasn't sure if she could feel any better. And now, here's what she said: I have more confidence in my everyday life. I feel comfortable talking about my infertility, which used to feel impossible. I spend less time worrying about what others think. I don't obsess over what people with kids are doing. I enjoy life's simple pleasures now, And that's what thriving can feel like. So imagine this. I want you to imagine what it would be like to wake up on a Saturday this summer, not feeling like you're missing out, but like your weekend belongs to you. Sitting at a dinner table with friends who have kids, and instead of shrinking, you speak with confidence, you laugh, you contribute, and you feel like your life, even though it doesn't have stories about things you're doing with your kids, that your life matters. Being in your marriage and feeling connected, not like something's broken, not like you're missing or lacking or just trying to muster up the excitement to enjoy each other's company, but like you're rebuilding something that is so meaningful and you're in it together. How about reconnecting with your body and stop looking at your body like it's something that has failed you, but something that you love, something that you want to nourish and take care of again, something that you want to be at peace with. Think about waking up this summer and thinking about the next few decades of your life, not with fear or with dread, but with excitement, with clarity, with a vision, something that doesn't have you worried about your last days and who's going to take care of you and dying old and alone in a nursing home. Oh my God. If I could count the amount of times I thought about my future in that way. Those are the things that I help my clients work through and thrive after infertility. I help you create a life that does not feel full of grief or doesn't live with that comparison of what people with kids are doing or the jealousy that you might feel when you get that text that your friend has a positive pregnancy test. And Thrive After Infertility, I can help you transform those things into connection with yourself, into confidence for who you are, even though you didn't have the children you dreamed of, and choice to decide what you want to think about yourself when you didn't have the pregnancy to announce amongst your friends and family. I want you to know that you're not broken and you're not too late. You don't need to just be grateful or to move on without a roadmap. What you need and what you are striving to achieve in your life, if you're like most of the women that I work with, you want guidance. You don't want to be left with no resources. You want support. You want tools that can actually help you move forward. You don't need more tips and more ideas and more ways of believing and thinking so that you can get pregnant. You need transformation. So I want to ask you something. Do you want this to be another summer where you feel like you are just holding on, smiling at pictures, but leaving a conversation and falling apart in the bathroom, feeling exhausted by all the pretending, feeling like you are an actor in your own life? Oh my God, if I could tell you all the times I came home from events and I just collapsed on the sofa because I felt like I was just acting when I'd be around people and I just didn't know who I was and who I could be to feel connected to myself. Do you want this to be the season that you start to see something different? Because if you're ready to stop just surviving, if you're ready to thrive or feel like life finally fits you again, I would love to talk to you. I would love to share with you the ways that you can start to feel like you are not judged for where you are. I want to help you map out a plan for what comes next. I want to help you realize that you can have clarity. Life does not have to feel confusing and feel like it weighs like a ton of bricks. I want to help you find the direction that you deserve and the confidence that you're no longer walking this path alone. And I think women are afraid because you don't know if it'll work for you. And let me tell you, girl, if I figured it out, because I am no special snowflake, I can help you figure it out too. I want to help you feel as though life feels connective again. I want you to know that you don't have to do this alone and that you aren't the only one. That is what I love about the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind. There's women in the group that have experienced things just like you that understand what it's like. And you might feel like this is finally the time that you can find your people, because you were meant for more than just hanging on. You were meant to love your life, even if it turned out differently than you imagined. And I want to help you achieve that and believe that again. So I love you. And remember that it's never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week. Hey, if your ears perked up when you heard about Thrive After Infertility, the 12-week coaching program I created for women who are ready to create the life they love without the children they dreamed of, let's talk. This program is where everything starts to shift. You don't have to figure it out alone. You don't have to stay stuck or in a life that just feels like it's happening to you instead of for you. Take a peek at the show notes for the link to book your free 45-minute Thrive call. And in that call, we'll create a plan for you about what's next, about how you can create a life you love and start to thrive after infertility.